Consider taking a job at a museum where everything comes to life at night. Robin Williams is also present. Also, you're Ben Stiller. So we begin by seeing this man. Larry runs to his automobile every day only to discover that a wheel lock has been added. He tries and fails to remove it. So he rushes to his son's school to pick him Nikki, only to discover that his ex-wife Erica has already picked him up. He travels to Erica's residence to see her, and there he meets her new fiancé Dawn. He's an amusing character. Anyway, Larry and Erica start conversing, and he asks her whether she thinks their kid would like winning. "Oh, Larry, you didn't get kicked out again, did you?" She adds she's not sure how much longer Nikki can put up with this insecurity. It is harmful to a youngster. And I agree. Larry claims to be attempting to work things out. But you can tell he's not making any progress since he's as broke as the folks who purchased NFTs this year, last year, or the year before. She ultimately tells him the truth. She does not believe Nikki should return to him. At least till he sorts himself out. Just then, Nikki arrives, and they go play hockey. During the game, Nikki falls, and Larry, the father of the year, immediately jumps in to help his son up. He also doubles as coach of the year because he uses that opportunity to give his son some tactical tips before getting off the ice, but he receives a puck to the face for his troubles after the game. Larry and Nikki are walking back home, and Larry is bragging about how excellent his kid was. The NHL is a possibility, although Nikki has said that he no longer wants to play hockey. He's only a small guy still finding his way, so there's nothing to get worked up about. No problemo, but truly yes problemo, since he wants to bet in hockey to become a bond trader like Don, which is one method to bruise a guy's ego. Another man kidnapped his wife, and now he wants to take his son to come on. Larry plays a cool impresses on about hockey. Nikki enjoys hockey, but bond trading is his backup plan. Are you in your 30s or something? What do you mean, call me back? We heard this kid who had just started middle school talking about having a backup plan. The only thing you should be concerned about is Larry falling into bed every time he asked him or simply heard the term. And he claims it's for his mother. Apparently, she's been discussing Larry's many plots with her fiancé, and she believes Larry needs a backup plan that breaks Larry's heart. Nikki should have asked Larry if he's relocating again. And Larry adds there are some fairly great spots down in Queens, which clearly disappoints the small guys. Larry attempts to lift the boy's spirits. He informs him that he believes his time is approaching, and that when it arrives, everything will fall into place. In return, his son thrusts a blade through his heart. What if you're mistaken and you're simply a regular man looking for work? Larry is dumbfounded when he asks. He just states that they will figure it out and that they will walk home rough. People used to tell me that all the time before this channel went off. Look at me now, a loser. But he remembers his son's remarks, and the following day he's on a job interview, and the woman tells him his CV is terrible and she can't assist him. He begs her for a job, and she sends him to a location that has previously rejected everyone she has sent. The location in question is a museum, and there he meets Rebecca, who directs them to Cecil for the interview, but on their way, Rebecca introduces him to a pretty realistic Theodore Roosevelt wax figure on a horse, and then they meet Dr. McPhee, the museum director, who expresses his displeasure with the chaos all around, and now we see Larry walk through security door, where he meets a seal, who informs Larry that the museum is losing money. So the museum's people want to impose a seal on the two other night guards and replace them with one new person. When Larry meets the two night guards, Gus and Regal, it is clear why they must be sacked. But here's the thing, Larry had no idea he was there for an interview to become a night guard. So he claims he needs time to think about it, but they don't allow him that time. They give them the job right there. So Cecil offers them a tour of the museum, and along the way Larry gets lost, and while hunting for this he only emerges from behind in a costume and startles him after a nice chuckle. But Zeal informs him firmly that there will be no messing about in here. This thing is rather ancient. They continue on their trip till they arrive to the Hall of African Mammals, where Larry discovers a monkey and Cecil tells him his name is Dexter and he's a lot of fun. Then there was the Pharaoh's temple. Cecil depicts the Pharaoh with his cherished item, a 24-karat gold tablet, which hangs behind him. Mr. Beast has around 100 of these premium fancy seals. His response to the gold tablet and the monkey was odd, but he said nothing. Take careful notice of this. Cecil instructs him to submit his 5 points tomorrow, and he says cool at home. He hangs up his suit and phones Erica, informing her that he has a new job and that she can inform Nikki that they would no longer be relocating. Of course, she's pleased about the wonderful news that will be delivered tomorrow. Comsens, the CEO, and the gang deliver him the keys and a flashlight, advising him to strap them to his belt. His heel informs him that it's becoming creepy around here, so we may want to turn on some lights. Finally, he hands him the instruction manual and the skill to follow the directions properly. What exactly do you mean by out? Aren't they all sculptures and wax figures? Are they active at night? What exactly is going on here? Larry is going to have a wild night at the museum, but it begins quietly. Actually, he first turns on the lights, as instructed, and then plays with the PA system, producing various noises on the speakers until he falls asleep. Isn't it a simple task? He falls asleep and wakes up as a result. So we decided to take a walk around the museum, but then he notices a door wide open. He thinks it's a seal playing a prank on him, but instead what he sees the skeleton of a dinosaur just chilling. Larry jumps his torch and starts running. The dinosaur chases him. He tries to run out, but the door's closed shut, so we hide behind the counter instead and makes a call to Cecil, who's busy having the time of his life at a party. The CEO just instructs him to read the instructions. The dinosaurs are wreaking havoc on the desk. It even scoops it up and discards it. Larry then consults the instructions, and the first instruction is to toss the bone. He takes up the bone and throws it, and the damage that goes to Vetch comes back around and homes the bone for Larry. Larry throws the bone again, and the dinosaur chases after it, oblivious to the fact that it's slammed. Larry is on his way to the floor, but he is still on the floor. When he looks up, he sees an elephant strolling, birds flying, a rhino, and other things. He climbs upstairs and sees cavemen everywhere. In fact, the whole museum is bustling right now because this massive stone sculpture is talking to him. When some guys start after him, he escapes inside the elevator and finds some relief. He enters a chamber, and it's more tranquil here, at least until it turns into a combat zone. He bolts from the room and reads the following instruction. When he sees the words "lock up the lines" or "the lead you," he instantly proceeds to discover the lines and seeks instructions from a bronze man who happens to be Christopher Columbus. When he enters the room, the lines are filled with other creatures. An elephant pushes the Hall of African Mammals into the chamber, and he now locks himself within. Yes, an ostrich elephant, a couple of zebras, and a deer son are approaching him. So he quickly introduces himself briefly and dashes for the other entrance just as the line begins to form. While he's running, a monkey leaps on him, but he gets it beyond the gate just in time, but he can't locate his keys to close the gate. So he pulls out the handbook, and number 3 advises to double-check your belt since the monkey most likely took your keys. Then he glances up and finds Dexter on the gate with this group of homosexuals. XOR appears and gives over the keys while taking a bonus bite to the nose. He then pays Larry as he passes through the fence for good measure. Imagine a golden rain from a monkey reminding me that I need to remove my online history. But Dexter isn't done yet. He grabs Larry's instruction manual and begins ripping it up right in front of him. Larry considers confronting the monkey, but the lions tell him why that isn't such a good idea. How is he going to get by without the manual? It's going to be a long night, and the little people injecting needles into him aren't making it any easier. He now notices a group of tiny people singing in a little town and walks closer to investigate. While he's standing there, some small people gather around his feet, tie his food together, and knock him down. He falls into the settlement, and more of the small people gather and tie him up with his headline on a rail. A man comes out and says every night, year after year, one of you guards locks us up in these boxes where I thus say sir enough. Then another person in a horse comes out and says sir enough. Jedediah orders the Iron Horse lads to fire up, and a train begins to approach. Mary begs Jedediah to halt the trend, but he refuses since someone has to pay. Instead, he orders the train to run at full speed, which it does, but the impact it makes when it collides with Larry's head is nothing more than a pug. Now that Larry knows he has the power of a giant over these small people, he breaks the rope that tied him and stands up all the little people strewn about him. This must be how Bing's hut feels. When he stands up, he finds an army of Roman troops waiting for him. After some back and forth, the commander Octavius orders the men to ready their cannibals. Octavius orders his soldiers to fire, and they begin flinging fire towards Larry, who does not seem to be bothered by it. But suddenly Theodore Roosevelt comes and extends his hand. Larry mounts his horse and they storm out. He leaves him down right at the foot of the Alice. They carry out their orders, and Roosevelt grabs his pistol and tells Larry to excuse him since the hunt is on. Larry approaches Roosevelt and asks the million-dollar question. Yes, everything in his museums is meant to be dead, and Roosevelt just invited Larry to accompany him. He leans towards the Pharaoh's tablet and declares that it is the cause of all the noise. He says the tablet arrived from the Nala expedition in 1952, and the night it arrived was when everything in the museum came to life, and it has come to life every night since that. Roosevelt tells Larry that his job is to make sure none of them leave the museum because of the sunrises, and any of them were outside you turn to dust anyway, it's almost done in there. Roosevelt tells him that following that, I'll assist them restore order for the first and final time tonight. Roosevelt may be seen peering through his binoculars at Sacagawea. I had no idea presidents had crushes, but that makes sense. Anyway, Larry walks in and interrupts his stalking party, telling Roosevelt that he doesn't believe you'll be returning with the president. Some guys are naturally gifted. Others have greatness pushed upon them in order for you to succeed. This is the exact moment. He genuinely departs with those words and proceeds to resume his place as a statue, but not before giving Larry one final fright. As he prepares to depart, he discovers Jedediah in his pocket.